Welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host Yeshi. Here are the headlines. Indian Prime Minister Modi calls for regional unity and cooperation at 5th BIMSTEC Virtual Summit. Baloch National Movement holds anti-Pakistan protest in Germany. And Varanasi's Pashupatinath Mahadev temple becomes symbol of India-Nepal unity. Let's begin the show. The threat of political turmoil is growing in Pakistan as opposition seeks to remove Prime Minister Imran Khan from his office in a vote of no confidence. Moreover, with several legislators from Khan's own party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf withdrawing their support from him ahead of the vote, his future appears to be hanging by a thread. The opposition had already started stepping up pressure on Khan to resign, but he has rejected calls to quit ahead of vote to oust him. We have a report.
In his address to the nation ahead of the no-confidence motion against his PTI government, Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan indicated that he will not resign. He also accused an unnamed Western country of backing moves to oust him as he had visited Moscow recently for talks with President Vladimir Putin. Not ready to accept defeat, Khan said that he will not let the conspiracy succeed and whatever will be the result of vote, he will come ahead with more strength.
मुझे लोगों ने किसी ने कहा जी वो इमरान खान आप रिज़ाइन कर दें, मैं रिज़ाइन कर दूं। मैं जो मेरे साथ क्रिकेट खेलते थे वो सारी दुनिया 20 साल जो मैं खेली है, आखिरी गेंद तक मैं मुकाबला करता हूँ। मैं कभी हार ज़िंदगी में नहीं मानी। मैं तो वोट का जो भी रिज़ल्ट हो जाए आप देखेंगे कि मैं तो उसके बाद और ज़्यादा तकड़ा होकर सामने आऊँगा, जो भी रिज़ल्ट हो। ये ना लोगों ने आपको माफ़ करना है, ना लोगों ने आपको भूलना है, ना आपकी इस बात को माफ़ करना है, भूलना है, ना जो लोग आपको हैंडल कर रहे हैं ना उनको माफ़ करना है और भूलना है लोगों ने। यह हमेशा के लिए लोग याद रखेंगे कि आपने अपने मुल्क का सौदा किया, एक बैरून मुल्क साजिश जो यहाँ लोगों के साथ मिल के एक वो गवर्नमेंट जिसकी आज़ाद फॉरेन पॉलिसी थी उसको गिराने की कोशिश की गई।
The vote has become increasingly difficult for Imran Khan since he lost his majority in parliament when his main ally MQ and Muttahida Qawmi movement quit his coalition and joined the opposition. It could see the former cricket star ousted and the return of political uncertainty. Earlier on Thursday, opposition parties called on him to resign ahead of the parliamentary vote. Though the vote against Khan was set to begin on Thursday, but the Speaker of the Assembly, a member of Khan's party, immediately adjourned the session to Sunday. Many locals have expressed their faith on Khan. They said whether he win or lose, he has won their heart.
खान साहब अदम एतमाद की तहरीक जीते हैं या हार हैं, मगर खान साहब ने अवाम के दिल जीत लिए हैं। अवाम खान साहब के साथ खड़ी हुई है। आज जो सारे इस मुल्क के जो करता धरता थे 30 साल से 35 साल से जिनकी आगे पीछे हुकूमतें आती रहीं, वो सब एक तरफ हो गए।
आज की तकरीर में जो खान साहब ने सिर्फ जो है ना वो ये बताने की कोशिश की है कि वो किन हालात से गुजर रहे हैं, किन मसाइल का वो शिकार है। लेकिन अब खान साहब के अकेले के हालात जो है ना पूरी कौम सुनने को तैयार इसलिए नहीं है कि कौम की हालत को खान साहब नहीं देख रहे हैं।
The no confidence motion was submitted by the opposition parties on March 8. The opposition is confident that its motion would be carried as some allies of PTI have come out in the open against Imran Khan.
Moving on. The 5th edition of Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation BIMSTEC Summit was recently hosted virtually by island nation Sri Lanka. All the 7 members of BIMSTEC were present in the virtual meeting, which focused at the prevailing issues in member countries which need to be addressed. The regional grouping adopted a charter to expand its overall cooperation and firmed up a master plan for transport connectivity. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the virtual summit called for regional unity and cooperation.
5th Summit of BIMSTEC, the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, was held virtually this week. With the theme towards a resilient region, prosperous economies and healthy people, Sri Lanka chaired this year's summit. All 7 members of the grouping discussed expanding cooperation among themselves and firmed up a master plan for transport connectivity. While addressing the summit, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, chaired by Sri Lanka, said the region is facing challenges of health and economic security, due to which the need of the hour is unity and cooperation. Indian Prime Minister also said India would provide $1 million to the BIMSTEC Secretariat to increase its operational budget.
भारत सचिवालय के ऑपरेशनल बजट को बढ़ाने के लिए $1 मिलियन की वित्तीय सहायता देगा। एक्सेलेंसीज, हमारे आपसी व्यापार को बढ़ाने के लिए बिम्स्टेक एफटीए के प्रस्ताव पर शीघ्र प्रगति करना आवश्यक है।
The grouping accounts for 22% of the global population and has a combined gross-domestic product of $2.5 trillion. PM Modi called upon fellow members to strive to transform Bay of Bengal into a bridge of connectivity, prosperity and security among the BIMSTEC member countries.
पिछले कुछ सप्ताहों के यूरोप के डेवलपमेंट्स ने अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यवस्था के स्थायित्व पर प्रश्न चिन्ह खड़ा हो गया है। इस संदर्भ में बिम्स्टेक क्षेत्रीय सहयोग को और सक्रिय बनाना महत्वपूर्ण हो गया है। हमारी क्षेत्रीय सुरक्षा को अधिक प्राथमिकता देना भी अनिवार्य हो गया है। एक्सेलेंसीज, आज हमारे बिम्स्टेक चार्टर को एडॉप्ट किया जा रहा है। एक संस्थागत आर्किटेक्चर की ओर हमारे प्रयासों के लिए एक महत्वपूर्ण कदम है।
Meanwhile, Bhutan Prime Minister Dr. Lotte Tshering thanked PM Modi for providing COVID-19 vaccines to the nation. BIMSTEC is a regional grouping comprising India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Nepal and Bhutan that was established in 1997. Its members lie in the littoral and adjacent areas of the Bay of Bengal, constituting a contiguous regional unity. The grouping is also seen as a replacement of the SAARC, the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, a South Asian grouping that has largely been lying dormant for past several years.
The Day 27 March reminds Baloch people of losing their freedom and makes them realize about their national obligations which they need to fulfill to regain their freedom. Balochistan lost its independence on this day in 1948 after its forcibly annexation by Pakistan. Since then, enforced disappearances targeting students, activists, journalists and human rights defenders continue relentlessly in the province. Recently, while observing 27 March as a Black Day, Baloch National Movement organized an anti-Pakistan protest in Germany. A report.
On March 27, 1948, Pakistan forcibly annexed the sovereign state of Balochistan. Since then, the Baloch have been observing March 27 as a Black Day in their history. Recently, the Baloch National Movement organized a protest in Germany to make the international community aware of Pakistani atrocities in Balochistan. Holding banners and placards, the protesters raised the flag of Balochistan. While raising the issue of Pak's atrocities and extrajudicial killings in Balochistan, protesters also expressed concern over the rights of fishermen in the poor province. Local fishers are fearful as China is expanding Gwadr's fishing industry. Fishers in the region already face destitution due to dwindling catch.
China wants to fish with bigger fish nets and want to kill all of the marine life in Balochistan. They don't only stop fishes, but they also stop all the people to do fishing. And also they are being oppressed because of their big ship breaking industry in Pakistan. In Gaddani, there is the biggest ship industry in the world as third most ship breaking yard, it's called. Recently, Pakistan has not only accepted oil or fossils shipping, but also they have accepted so many atomic substances shipping. They break down these shipping in the Balochistan area.
The 7 decades of slavery have seen the blood of thousands of Baloch people. Thousands of Baloch innocent civilians have been disappeared at the hands of Pakistani security forces. The cases of extrajudicial killings have got non-stop in the province. Though Balochistan is the biggest victim of Pakistan's army kill and dump policy, the story is similar for Sindh also. Minorities are at risk due to forced conversions in the region. Therefore, the issue of extrajudicial killings in Sindh was also raised in demonstrations.
Forced conversion in Sindh to the minority people of the Hindu girls to the Islam, and extrajudicial killing about the Sindhi people and Baloch people. We want to appeal to the UNO and EU that stop these extrajudicial killing in Balochistan.
Thousands of Balochs have been killed since 1948, and there have been ups and downs in the liberation struggle. But the Baloch resistance to regain their independence continues.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in our segment called Asia Watch.
Thousands of Japanese gathered in central Tokyo to enjoy the view of cherry blossoms as COVID-19 restrictions imposed on Tokyo and 17 other prefectures were lifted last week. People wearing masks were seen strolling around the perimeter of the Imperial Palace in central Tokyo, taking pictures and posing for selfies among the trees. The flowers known locally as sakura reached the full bloom in Tokyo 4 days earlier than usual according to the Japan Meteorological Agency. The age-old tradition of viewing cherry blossoms typically attracts throngs of people to park to sit under cherry trees for picnics, singing and drinking. However, due to coronavirus pandemic, the metropolitan government has been asking people to refrain from eating and drinking outdoors to avoid the spread of the disease. China's National Energy Administration has released a guideline on energy development about 2022, detailing targets for securing energy supplies and boosting energy efficiency. In 2022, annual domestic energy production capacity will amount to 4.41 billion tons of standard coal, while crude oil output will reach around 200 million tons, according to the guideline. Natural gas output is expected to reach 214 billion cubic meters, the guideline specifies. It also seeks to steadily lower the nation's dependence on coal, pledging to increase the share of non-fossil fuel in China's overall energy consumption to around 17.3%. Wind power and photovoltaic power generation will account for about 12.2% of power consumption, the guideline notes.
A combination of spiking gas prices globally and local government rebates have driven up consumer interest in Thailand for electric vehicles. Thousands of people flocked to the Bangkok International Motor Show in March, with crowds forming at booths by auto manufacturers featuring electric cars. This year's motor show was the first time that government EV subsidies for consumers were introduced, while Chinese car makers are also producing cheaper models, in particular to target the region. The government subsidy combined with a reduction in value-added tax could save customers up to $4,779 per unit. Domestic demand for EV is a crucial part of a larger government strategy to preserve its status as a major regional automaker. The government is targeting production of 725,000 electric vehicles a year, or 30% of output by 2030. Thailand is Asia's fourth largest auto assembly hub, and the industry contributes to about 10% of the economy and manufacturing jobs. The demand for EVs have been gaining momentum. Last year, the number of registered fully electric cars doubled to about 4,000.
Traditional tunes for Iraq, Andalusia and beyond echoed through Mosul Old City over the past few days as audiences gathered to attend the Mosul International Music Festival. Organized by the Association Action for Hope with the support of UNHCR and European Union, the festival aims to train and encourage young musicians as well as create bonds between music groups from abroad. Over several months, 24 local musicians received training in Mosul and founded 4 different music groups. They performed at the festival alongside groups from France, Spain and Italy. The common point between these groups, Al Husseini said, was that they performed music considered traditional in their countries. The bands from Iraq played Syriac, Turkmen and other traditional tunes heard during weddings and other popular celebrations. The objective was to revive these traditions and give them life again in Mosul, a city where the youth longed to play music but had limited opportunities to receive proper training, Hussein said. Mosul residents who attended the festival said they hoped the event would become an annual one and would revive the musical activities in their city that for years had been a theatre of armed violence and conflict. India resumed scheduled commercial flight operations to international destinations, restarting unrestricted travel after 2 years and for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic began. As many as 60 airlines from 40 countries have been permitted to operate to and from India during the summer schedule, according to the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. India had suspended scheduled international passenger flights since March 23, 2020, as part of lockdown steps taken to prevent the spreading of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Moving on, Kashi Vishwanath corridor in Varanasi has benefited several religious spots in the holy city, including Sri Samrajeshwar Pashupatinath Temple, which is also known as Nepali Temple. Hundreds of devotees visit the temple every day and offer prayers. Sri Samrajeshwar Pashupatinath Temple is helping in bringing both the neighbouring countries, India and Nepal, closer, which share a unique relationship characterized by deep-rooted people-to-people contacts of kinship and culture. Take a look. Sri Samrajeshwar Pashupatinath Temple in the holy city of Varanasi, which stood as a symbol of India-Nepal unity, is attracting scores of tourists and pilgrims after the development of Kashi Vishwanath Temple. Varanasi is one of the oldest living cities in the world and is amongst the most important pilgrimages for Hindus. The massive corridor around the famous Kashi Vishwanath Temple, which opened last December, has given a boost to tourism in the holy city. Since the inauguration of the first phase of the Kashi Vishwanath project, devotees have begun to come in large numbers, and one no longer has to crane one's neck to see the famous temples. The project has benefited several religious spots, including the famous Sri Samrajeshwar Pashupatinath Mahadev Mandir. It is also known as the Nepali Mandir or Mini Khajuraho. Dedicated to Lord Shiva, this temple has great religious importance. Constructed in the 19th century AD by the King of Nepal, the temple is a replica of the Pashupatinath Temple in Kathmandu. Worship is being done on the daily basis and devotees visiting the temple feel joyous. The people from the Himalayan nation Nepal visit the temple regularly and they have great devotion for Kashi and its people.
नेपाली पशुपतिनाथ मंदिर है और लोग जो नेपाल में पशुपतिनाथ मंदिर दर्शन करने जाते हैं तो यहाँ काशी ही नहीं पूरे हिंदुस्तान और नेपाल के लोग जब काशी आते हैं तो विश्वनाथ धाम दर्शन करते हैं तो यहाँ इसको नेपाली मंदिर के नाम से बोला जाता है काशी में। तो नेपाली पशुपतिनाथ मंदिर में अवश्य दर्शन करते हैं। यहाँ दर्शन करके लोग पुण्य प्राप्त करते हैं। अभी 3 बजे के बाद मंदिर खुलेगा तो यहाँ रेला लग जाएगा, लंबी लाइन यहाँ से लेकर के घाट तक लगती है।
Nepali temple is a bond between two countries with similar cultures and religions. A major attraction among art enthusiasts, the temple stands with pride today.
सेम है, देखने में भी सेम है, बाहर से देखा है, अंदर तो नहीं गया है, बाहर से देखा है, सेम है, कोई फर्क नहीं है।
The Kashi Vishwanath Temple corridor has made Varanasi a delightful place of interest for pilgrims across India and Nepal. Prime Minister Narendra Modi earlier had noted that the temple area was only 3,000 square feet, which has now enlarged to about 5 lakh square feet. Now 50,000 to 75,000 devotees can visit the temple and temple premises. The corridor, which combines history with the future, is helping in bringing both the neighboring countries closer, which share a unique relationship characterized by deep-rooted people-to-people contacts of kinship and culture. Notably, Nepalese Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba will visit Varanasi during his official visit to India from April 1 to 3. It's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We will be back next week at the same time. This is Yeshi signing off on behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.